also reminds me that I'm going to find the boy who took everything from me. I'm going to kill the boy who killed me. And when I kill him, I'm going to do it with my left hand. Chapter 1. Nastia. Dying really isn't so bad after you've done it once. And I have. I'm not afraid of death anymore. I'm afraid of everything else. August in Florida means 3 things: heat, oppressive humidity, and school. School. I haven't been to school in over 2 years. Not unless you count sitting at the kitchen table being homeschooled by your mom, and I don't. It's Friday. My senior year starts on Monday, but I haven't registered. If I don't go in today, I won't have a schedule on Monday morning, and I'll have to wait at the office for one. I think I'd rather skip the bad 80s movie scene where I walk in late on the first day and everybody has to stop what they're doing to stare at me, because while that wouldn't be the worst thing that would ever happen to me, it would still suck. My aunt pulls into the parking lot of Mill Creek Community High School with me in tow. It's a cookie-cutter high school, except for the putrid color of the walls and the name on the sign. It's an exact replica of the last one I intended. Margot, she made me drop the amp part because it makes her feel old, turns down the radio she's been blaring the entire way here. Thankfully, it's a short ride because loud sounds make me edgy. It's not the sound itself that bothers me. It's just the fact that it's loud. The loud sounds make it impossible to hear the soft ones, and the soft sounds are the ones you have to be afraid of. I can handle it now because we're in a car, and I usually feel safe in cars. Outside is a different story. I never feel safe outside. Your mother expects a phone call when we're done here, Margot tells me. My mother expects a lot of things she's never going to get. In the scheme of things, a phone call is not much to ask, but that doesn't mean she'll get one. You could at least text her 4 words: registered, all is well. If you're feeling really generous, you could even throw one of those little happy faces on the end. I look sideways at her from the passenger seat. Margot is my mother's younger sister by a good 10 years. She's the opposite of my mother in almost every way. She doesn't even look like her, which means that she doesn't look like me either, because I am a carbon copy of my mother. Margot is dirty blonde with blue eyes and a perpetual tan that she easily maintains by working nights and napping by the pool during the day, even though she's a nurse and she should know better. I have pale white skin, dark brown eyes, and long, wavy, just this side of black hair. She looks like she belongs in a Coppertone ad. I look like I belong in a coffin. People would have to be stupid to believe we're related, even if it is one of the only things about me that's true. She's still got that cocky smile on her face, knowing that even if she hasn't convinced me to placate my mother, then at least she's planted a little guilt. It's impossible to dislike Margot, even when you really, really try, which makes me hate her a little because I'll never be one of those people. She took me in, not because I don't have anywhere else to go, but because I don't have anywhere else I can stand to be. Luckily for her, she really only has to see me in passing, because once school starts, we'll rarely ever be home at the same time. Even so, I doubt taking in a sullen, bitter teenage girl with more issues than National Geographic is at the center of the vision board for a single woman in her early 30s. I wouldn't do it, but then I'm not a very good person. Maybe that's why I ran like hell from the people who love me the most. If I could be alone, I would. Gratefully. I'd rather be alone than have to pretend I'm okay. But they won't pencil sharpener on his desk. It strikes me as odd. The desk is a rich, fancy cherry number, nothing like the crap industrial ones teachers get. Why anyone would mount such an ancient pencil sharpener on it is beyond me. It's a complete contradiction. I wish I could ask about it. Instead, I focus on the ring of adjustable pencil holes and wonder idly if my pinky finger would fit into any of them. I'm contemplating how much it would hurt to sharpen it, and how much blood there might be when I hear Mr. Armour's tone shift. Not at all. He sounds nervous. Not at all, Margot confirms. She's got her put-on, no-nonsense demeanor in full swing. I see. Well, we'll do what we can. I'll make sure her teachers are informed before Monday. Has she filled in a class request form? And like clockwork, we've gotten to the point where he started to talk about me like I'm not in the room. Margot hands him the form and he peruses it quickly. I'll get this to the guidance department so they can have a schedule drawn up by Monday morning. I can't promise she'll get these electives. Most classes are already full at this point. We understand. I'm sure you'll do whatever possible. We appreciate your cooperation and, of course, your discretion, Margot adds. It's a warning. Go, Margot. I think it's kind of wasted on him, though. I do get the feeling he genuinely wants to help. Plus, I think I make him uncomfortable, which means he probably hopes to see as little of me as possible. Mr. Armour walks us to the door, shaking Margot's hand and nodding almost imperceptibly at me with a strange smile that I think might be pity or possibly disdain. Then, just as quickly, he looks away. He follows us back into the chaos of the front office and asks us to wait a moment while he heads down a hallway to the guidance office with my paperwork. I look around and see that several of the same people I saw earlier are still waiting in line. I think whatever God still believes in me for appointments. I'd rather clean the inside of a porta olet with my tongue than spend another minute in this cacophony. We stand against the wall as far out of the way as we can get. There are no empty chairs now. I glance to the front of the line where a dirty blonde Ken doll is tossing his most panty-dropping smile in the direction of Miss Unpleasant on the other side of the counter. Miss Unpleasant is now positively glowing in the aura of this boy's flirtations. I don't blame her. He's the kind of good-looking that transforms once self-respecting females into useless puddles of damask. I struggle to separate out their conversation. Something about an office aide position. Ah, lazy bastard. He cocks his head to the side and says something that makes Miss Unpleasant laugh and shake her head in resignation. He's won whatever it is he came here for. I watch the slight shift in his eyes. He knows it too. I'm almost impressed. While he's waiting, the door opens again and a psychotically cute girl walks in and scans the room until her eyes land on him. Drew, she yells over the commotion, and everyone turns. She seems oblivious to the attention. I'm not going to sit in the car all day. Come on. I check her out while she glowers at him. She's blonde, like him, though not exactly. Her hair is lighter, like she spent the whole summer in the sun. She's attractive in the most obvious way possible. Pleasant quickly scrawls something on his farm and signs the bottom. She passes it back to him, but he's still looking at me. I point to her and raise my eyebrows at him. Aren't you going to get what you came